Good afternoon to everyone. I'm Daniela Torti and I'm PhD student and researcher assistant of the school evaluation area of INVALSI. This contribution made by Michela Friddano, research manager of school evaluation area at INVALSI, and me, presents a e-learning training course designed by INVALSI in collaboration of Ministry of Education for school principal and member of the internal evaluation unit of the Italian Provincial Center for Adult Education, CPIA. In particular, this contribution aims to describe which virtual learning environment were set up in the training course and how they were used by the participant, as well as the participant satisfaction with the training course. In this presentation, I will start from an exposition of the context and premises. I will present the research questions and the training course with the phases and learning environment. The group of participants, and I will focus on synchronous and asynchronous participation and CPIA's consultation. At the end, I will focus on the main conclusion that emerged from this experience. The provincial CPIA were recently established within the Italian educational and training system. CPIA represents a specific type and autonomous educational institution with its own staff and a specific didactic and organizational structure, and have a specific and crucial role for the education of the adult population. For this reason, as part of the national evaluation system, starting from the current school year, the CPIA will be included in the evaluation process of educational institutions for the 3 period 2022-2025. In the school year 2018-2019, INVALSI conducted an experimental study, the Pond Value project, aiming to setting up the theoretical framework of RAV. In the school year 2019-2020 was established an interinstitutional working group composed of INVALSI and Ministry of Education to finalize the tools for self-evaluation of CPIA. In the school year 2021-2022, based on the mandate from the Ministry of Education, INVALSI designed an accompanying plan that includes, on March 2021, an online conference aimed to disseminate the main result of experimental study that actively involved the main stakeholder and expert of CPIA. In the second part, in the first half of the school year 2021 and 2022, INVALSI organized an e-learning training course aimed at all CPIA who had the opportunity to test the tool for self-evaluation, providing for a first application of the CPIA questionnaire and the RAV. The research questions are: which virtual learning environment were set up in the INVALSI training course? How were they used by the participants? What is the participant satisfaction? What strength and weakness of the RAV format do the CPIA members of the internal evaluation teams express? The training course was aimed at the school principal and members of the internal evaluation teams of the 131 CPIAs, up to a maximum of 6 each. The aim was to increase theoretical and practical procedures and tools for self-evaluation adopted, and the possibility of testing the digital platform of the national evaluation system. Due to the COVID-19 pandemic, the training was implemented in a learning modality. The training course includes 3 synchronous seminars of 3 hours each, carried out on the Zoom platform, and 16 hours of asynchronous activities and study, for a total of 24 hours of teaching. During the the synchronous seminars, the presence of the participants was detected, and at the end was issued a certificate of attendance. In order to support the participants, a virtual training space was set up on the Moodle open source platform, and a continuous activities of virtual assistance and tutoring was planned both through the use of the forum and through by email. The table offers a summary of the phases, activities, methods, and software used during the training. The activities started at the end of September 2021 with the registration of the participant and ended in March 2022 with the CPIA consultation aimed to collect suggestions or proposals about RAV and self-evaluation procedure. The table shows the alternation of synchronous and asynchronous activity. During the activities was carried out individually in small and large groups and involved the use of different software. To allow broad participation, the training was divided into 5 training courses, dividing the CPIA involved into interregional groups as in the FIDEA plan. The table shows the distribution of CPIA for each interregional group, and the table shows the distribution of school principal and other members for each international group. An average of 5 members of CPIA participated to the training course. Based on the initial questionnaire, it was emerged that 80% were teachers, 18% were school principal, 2% was as a staff, and 1 member was a student. 70% was women with an average age of 51 years. Half of the responders have already been members of NIV in previous years. About half have already participated in the RAV compilation in the past, and only 30% of the participants have already carried out training on self-evaluation. The table shows the planning of all synchronous seminars for all 5 international groups that took place in the period between October and December 2001. Compared to synchronous participation, nearly 95% of enrolled attended at least one synchronous seminar. Almost of 73% of the participants received the certificate of attendance for all 3 seminars. For each interregional group, the participation at the last one of the synchronous examination is always above 19%. Compared to asynchronous participation, 94% have logged into Moodle platform at least once. The number of views of the learning object is also high. And during the training course, in correspondence with each activity, a total of 7 discussion forums were activated. The forums were used to constantly publish notice, and the participants had the possibility to insert requests and consideration. During the course, 2 laboratory activities were proposed. The laboratories had proposed to promote need reflection with respect to anonymized RAV compiled by a CPIA in the previous examinal study. As can be seen from the table, about 77% of CPIAs has carried out the first laboratory, and about 78% of CPIA has carried out the second laboratory. As regards the self-assessment test, at the end of the training course, 15 questions were made available to the participants to independently verify the level of knowledge and understanding of the topic covered during the training. The activity was voluntary and could be carried out individually or in a group together with the other member of the NIB. In total, 19 tests were delivered, 68 tests were carried out by individual participants, and 31 tests were carried out by 2 or more members of NIB. At the end of the training, INVALSI sent an open format by email to the administrative office of the 131 CPIAs and invited the principal and the member of NIB to express their opinion regarding the CPIA questionnaire, the RAV format, and other aspects related to the self-evaluation. We had received by mail 40 documents, which is equivalent to about 30% of the CPIA participating. Among the strength of RAV format expressed for CPIA, we had the effective structure. The CPIA expressed that guiding questions represent valid support for self-reflection and right draft compilation. It allows the CPIA to implement an effective monitoring system to collect data on students and the consequent activation of guidance intervention. Rubric for self-evaluation that allow to CPIA have an immediate reference that intuitively highlight the areas of greatest criticality or those to be strengthened. Among the weaknesses of RAV format, we have the length of the RAV format, difficulties in the data literacy, for example, reading and interpreting data. And CPIA, for example, have expressed difficulty for understanding why those data are relevant for self-evaluation. Difficulty to comparing data with benchmarks, interpreting numerical data, and for CPIA it could be useful having some example of data reading and interpretation. CPIA CPIA expressed difficulty to interpreting some guiding question in the light of the right data, and difficulty to carry out the self-evaluation by integrating the guiding question with the data. Among the strengths of CPIA questionnaire, we have effective structure, compilation were easy and without particular difficulties. It offers the possibility of becoming aware of the school situation from different points of view and to reflecting on the situation of one's own CPIA. Among the weakness of questionnaires, we have, for example, high number of questions, difficulties in collecting some data in consideration of the reality and the context of CPIAs, time and work required to find the data. Some questions for CPIAs are redundant, and difficulty to understanding some questions. The information, the consideration received through the training course and through this consultation made it possible to further refine the tools for CPIA self-evaluation. At the end of the training course, a questionnaire was proposed to knowing the satisfaction with the training course useful to identify strengths and areas for improvement for future implementation of training courses. In particular, has been explored the satisfaction with the setting up of the Moodle platform and the satisfaction with the teaching materials. 507 participants completed the final questionnaire, equal to over 80% of the total number of participants in the training. 85.5% expressed satisfaction with the course expectation, both for the Moodle platform and for the teaching material proposed. There is a high level of satisfaction of the participants. With respect to the conclusion, first of all, the e-learning modality made possible to reach many more participants that would have been possible if the course had been in presence, and made possible to training 6 components of the internal evaluation units of all the CPIAs through the replicability of the training module. Furthermore, with respect to geographical location, this modality has favored the meeting and the comparison between CPIAs, even if they are territorially very distant from each other. E-learning modality allows considerable economic saving, but requires a large organizational and design efforts. It's crucial the planning, preparation, and integration of learning environments and the creation of learning objects, which to promote the participants and the motivation of the participants. During the synchronous meeting, through the comparison in the large and small group, a lot of activity was done to promote evaluative thinking and the ability to reading and interpreting data for diagnostic and reflexive purpose. During the asynchronous activity, in the perspective of empowerment evaluation and of learning organization, the need was encouraged to work together to promote awareness of the importance that self-evaluation has for the purpose of improving what now CPIAs. Thank you for that.